How's it going, people? I haven't made a video here for a while. I've been very busy, and other reasons too. I was just wanting to make a video that I'm just kind of going through just some random news on a lot of the bullshit that's going on with the face masks, the coronavirus scam, and just all that crap. So I'm just going over the most recent stuff that I found that I just think is well, some more crap. Okay. This is from WLFI.com. It's like a channel 18. Right here. Yeah. West Lafayette issues mandatory face mask executive order. The city of West Lafayette signed an executive order Monday requiring face masks be worn to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Lafayette, Indiana. The city of West Lafayette signed Executive 2020-01 Monday, requiring face masks be worn to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. The order goes into effect July 13th. In violation of the order is punishable by a fine of $100 for a first offense and $250 for each subsequent offense. The complete order is below the story. The executive order signed by Mayor John Dennis on Monday states masks are required to be worn in places of business that is open to the public, as well as City of West Lafayette operated building or facility, any public transportation, high-density occupational settings, and any outdoor space where a person is unable to maintain social distancing. Don't you love that? The order also states all places of business shall require all employees, contractors, volunteers, and any other individuals that interact with the public to wear a face covering. Jeez. It continues by stating any manager, owner, or person in charge of a place of business who fails or refuses to comply with this order may be found in violation of this order, and any license issued by the city may be subject to review and revocation by the mayor. Jeez. Talk about tyranny on levels never before. Violation of the executive order is punishable by a fine of $100 and for $250 for each subsequent offense. Can you read that? It looks kind of blurry. Isn't that bullshit? However, according to the documentation, the following is an example of some of the people that the order does not apply to. Any individual who cannot wear a face mask covering because of a medical condition, mental health condition, or developmental disability, or who is unable to remove the face covering without assistance, and any individuals who should not wear face coverings under the CDC guidance. I'm just not, if they start this shit here in Iowa, I'm just not wearing it. Individuals under 6 years old. They know that overly wearing a mask over your face all day long is not good for your health. They know this because individuals under 6 years of age are more at risk of feeling the effects or getting the effects of the of the health issues that can be caused by overly wearing a mask all frickin' day. That's why individuals under 6 years old are exempt from wearing a face mask. So, hey, an individual who is seated at a restaurant, bar, or other establishments that serve food or drink while that individual is seated. Well, hey, that's nice. At least they still give you the freedom to sit down, without wearing a face mask. Sit down and eat, Let's see how long we have that. For restaurants, bars, or other establishments with outdoor dining areas that allow individuals to stand outside, a mask will not be required while dining as long as proper social distancing outside can be maintained. Jeez. When working at home or while in a personal vehicle. Well, you might as well all be looking for work-at-home jobs. Anyways, so yep, you can if you can read that, that's the actual documentation from the West Lafayette, Indiana mayor. It's probably blurry a little bit, but just to let you know it's a real thing. Remember, this is what they're gonna do, Protesting against a mask mandate in Indian River County? You'd better wear a mask to do it. Health Officer Miranda Hawker outlines the recent increase in positive COVID-19 cases in Indian River County at a news conference on Friday, June 26, 2020, at the Indian River County Commission chambers in Vero Beach. At the meeting, County Administrator Jason Brown announced the mandatory order for the wearing of face masks for employees serving the public and those visiting county facilities to go into effect Monday at 8 a.m. Oh, and look, I get these ads all over when I'm visiting, surfing the web. It's become a fashion now. Unfrickin' real. So that's the article here if you want to check that out. So they're pushing this, and this is exactly what the Rockefeller Foundation report talked about way before this COVID-19 false flag, whatever you want to call it. Scenarios for the future of technology and international development under their chapter Lockstep. Anyways, this is again, this was written all the way in 2011. They were thinking in a fictional scenario, writing in a fictional scenario. So this is supposedly taking place in 2012. This document was written a year earlier. So in 2012, the pandemic that the world had been anticipating for years finally hit. Unlike 2009's H1N1, this new influenza strain, originating from wild geese, was extremely virulent and deadly. And it talks about the pandemic having a deadly effect on economies, international mobility of both people and goods, screeched to a halt, debilitating industries like tourism, breaking global supply chains, normally bustling shops, office buildings, set empty for months. It blanketed the planet. All this is going on now, so this is more of their predictive programming bullshit. But it talks about that even after after the pandemic is lifted, the lockdown, police state measures stay in effect, and this is what we're seeing. We're very close, I think, to their end game. Makes me nervous. I don't really like it. Milwaukee Common Council passes mandatory mask mandate. Here's what you need to know. Passed this articles today. So, we all know they're all doing this shit. They're training us. This is social engineering. They're getting us ready to bring in their new world order. And I think there's something very symbolic about this. Something kind of ritualistic or something, that there's something about destroying the individuals with the wig covering of our face. Our faces are, obviously the most visible feature of who we are. Right? We know who that person is, but it's by looking at the face when you're approaching somebody. And down here there's a lot of, you can tell if I'm happy, you can tell if I'm sad, you can tell, a lot of things about the person, and what makes you unique. Well, they're covering this up, and I think that there's kind of a social engineering that they're doing with this too. It's stripping away as much of everybody's individuality as they possibly can through this psyop. They get people used to this. They know things like this affect future generations. And, well, pretty soon, before you know it, by the next generation, people are so detached from each other and themselves. The kind of new world order that they want to bring in, right, is one that's dehumanization, where technology, is God, and I think this is a step where everybody's tracked, everybody's chipped. Someday they probably want that too, right? So I think that's a step towards this process. It's getting us used to. They're pardon my French, they're fucking with us and socially engineering us to strip our own individuality voluntarily, consenting to it. Seeing how far they can get us to go, push us, and see how far they could push us without an argument, without a protest. But here's some good news. There's some places that aren't, falling in line with it. Clark County fines casinos, restaurants not enforcing mandatory mask order. And this is 3 hours ago. Statesman Journal. This is more bullshit here. Oregon coronavirus, masks to be required outdoors, indoor gatherings limited to 10. Again, you're seeing that. Whoops. As the number of new cases of COVID-19 continue to rise, Oregonians will be required to wear masks or other face coverings outside when distance can't be maintained between people. Governor Kate Brown announced the new requirement Monday and said she is also limiting indoor gatherings like parties to 10 or fewer people. Okay. Masks mandatory in Louisiana, so, you know, Associated Press 7 hours ago, time to make masks mandatory. It's not just a U.S. debate. Oops. Paris. Nope, more selling of masks as a fashion thing. Trump wears mask in public for first time during pandemic. So again, they know people are going to fight at first, and they're just going to keep, their statistics on, the COVID-19 rising and stuff, all that. You guys have probably maybe seen some videos from people, and there's some evidence backing it, I guess, of doctors and nurses lying about, cases of COVID-19, getting paid to do this actually, to falsely class people with, or diagnose people with COVID-19. As part of the agenda to keep selling the corona scam so they can bring in their tyranny. I'm sure you've heard of that, and I'm sure that's the case. This is very interesting, though. This is from The Last American Vagabond. This is from July 11th. Meet the Israeli intelligence-linked firm using AI to profile Americans and guide U.S. lockdown policy. So, I want to read that. Anyways, an Israeli government contractor founded by a former Israeli spy has partnered with one U.S. state and is set to announce a series of new partnerships with other states and U.S. healthcare providers to monitor civilian health and use an IDF-designed AI system to profile Americans likely to contract coronavirus and to inform U.S. government lockdown policy. A company tied to Israel's military signal intelligence unit, Unit 8200, no Adam Green off No More News, he's talked about that, has recently partnered with the state of Rhode Island to use an artificial intelligence-based system developed in tandem with the Israel Defense Forces to profile Americans potentially infected or at risk of being infected with coronavirus, then informing government authorities of their risk profile. Once flagged, state health officials can target those individuals as well as their communities for mandatory testing, treatment, or more restrictive lockdown measures. This would have been like in any other country, any other firm based in any other country or based in China. I mean, you know that many of the people on the alt-right would be screaming about this, right? Since it's a firm based in Israel, it doesn't get talked about much. The firm, Israel-based Diagnostic Robotics, is poised to announce a series of new such partnerships with several other U.S. states as well as major U.S. hospital systems and healthcare providers in the coming weeks, according to a company spokesperson. The first of these announcements came on June 30th regarding the firm's new partnership with Mayo Clinic. which will soon implement the diagnostic robotics artificial intelligence platform that predicts patients' hospitalization risk. They have also been in discussion with Vice President Mike Pence about the platform's implementation nationwide since April. Their creeping expansion into the U.S. state coronavirus response and that of other countries has been directly facilitated by the organization Startup Nation Central, funded by controversial hedge fund manager Paul Singer, and directly partnered with an Israeli government-backed intelligence initiative aimed at making the United States dependent on technology developed by the Israeli military or intelligence community as a means of preventing the adoption of policies that support the nonviolent boycott, divest, and sanctions movement at the state and local levels. This initiative also serves the dual purpose of ensuring Israel's political influence and positioning as the global cyber power, an oft-repeated policy goal of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And you can read the rest of this. I really found it on a link on Chuck Baldwin's website. See that a little better? There we go. Let's show you again. Oh, nothing to see there, right? You're an anti-Semite if you talk about that in a negative light. Again, seems like they are really, this might be their end game here. But I wanted to DuckDuckGo. Wanted to look up well, here's one. This is back in March. There's a false reporting of a COVID-19 death. But this is interesting. This is all the way back in April, and I just wanted to repeat this, right? This is an article from Fox News. Burke says government is classifying all deaths of patients with coronavirus as COVID-19 deaths regardless of cause. The federal government is classifying the deaths of patients infected with the COVID-19 regardless of any underlying health issues that could have contributed to the loss of someone's life. Dr. Deborah Birx, the response coordinator for the White House Coronavirus Task Force, said the federal government is continuing to count the suspected COVID-19 deaths, despite other nations doing the opposite. There are other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU, here's another one, sorry. Look at that shit. It's irritating the piss out of me. Dumbass sheeple. I hate to say it. Okay, so let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU intensive care unit and then have a heart or kidney problem. She said during a Tuesday news briefing at the White House, quote, "Some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue Some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. The intent is if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that, she added. Asked whether the numbers could skew data the government is trying to collect, Birx said that would mostly apply more to rural areas where testing isn't being implemented on a wide scale. Dr. Michael Baden, a Fox News contributor, said it's reasonable to include the death of someone infected with the virus who also had other health issues in the COVID-19 body count. So, people are dying of other causes. And, someone's infected with, just happened to have this. They're still going to count it as a COVID-19 death, regardless of what the evidence, that they died from something else. So, yep. You can check that article out if you'd like to. Here's another one. The CDC confesses to lying about COVID-19 death numbers. This is from the Canada Free Press. Block. This revelation comes a few days after I wrote here at American Thinker that New York City was lying. Hang on. That New York City was lying about COVID-19 deaths. The normal rules about reporting deaths have been violated by that city in the rush to inflate the body count, presumably to steer more taxpayer money to the Big Apple. That the CDC isn't telling the truth to Americans is no conspiracy theory. It's right out there in the open for everyone to see. The CDC openly admits that it is fudging the COVID-19 death figures. We know this because, among other truth tellers, a plain-spoken small-town physician from Kalispell, Montana, has pulled back the curtain. Dr. Annie Bukacek, MD, explained in a presentation how death certificates are made. See Montana physician Dr. Annie Bukacek, her last name spelled Bukacek, and she discusses how COVID-19 death certificates are being manipulated. This is all the way back in April. Why should anyone care how a certificate of death is made? Everyone should care, quote, today when governments are making massive charges that affect our constitutional rights, and those changes are based on inaccurate statistics, unquote. Bukacek says, that's that Dr. Annie Bukacek, the system is deeply flawed, she argues. Few people know how much individual power and leeway is given to the physician, coroner, or medical examiner signing the death certificate. How do I know this? I've been filling out death certificates for over 30 years. More often than we want to admit, we don't know with certainty the cause of death when we fill out death certificates. That is just life. We are doctors, not God. Autopsies are rarely performed, and even when an autopsy is done, the actual cause of death is not always clear. Physicians make their best guesstimate. That's guess, an estimate in one word. Guessing, basically. And fill out the form. Then that listed cause of death is entered into a vital records data bank to use for statistical analysis, which then gives out inaccurate numbers, as you can imagine. Those inaccurate numbers then become accepted as factual information, even though much of it is false. This has been the way it has been done for some time, Dr. Annie Bukacek says. They automatically overestimate the real death numbers by their own admission. So even before we heard of COVID-19 death certificates were based on assumptions and educated guesses that go unquestioned. When it comes to COVID-19, there is the additional data skewer. That is, get this, there is no universal definition of COVID-19 death. The Centers for Disease Control, updated from yesterday, April 4th, still states that mortality, quote unquote, data includes both confirmed and presumptive positive cases of COVID-19. That's from their website. I'm going to repeat that again. The Centers for Disease Control, updated from yesterday, April 4th, that's several months ago now, still states that mortality data includes both confirmed and presumptive positive cases of COVID-19. That's from their website. Translation: the CDC counts both true COVID-19 cases and speculative guesses of COVID-19 the same. They call it death by COVID-19. They automatically overestimate the real death numbers by their own admission. Prior to COVID-19, people were more likely to get an accurate cause of death written on their death certificate if they died in the hospital. Why more accurate when a patient dies in the hospital? Because hospital staff has physical examination findings, labs, radiologic studies, etc. to make a good educated guess. It is estimated that 60% of people die in the hospital. But even with those in-hospital deaths, the cause of death is not always clear, especially in someone with multiple health conditions, each of which could cause the death. So, it goes on here. If you'd like to read that. But there's even, I want to go to my bookmarks and try to find this real quick. This is a while ago. I'll read this real quick. Now that we have some evidence, and we've had some evidence before that all this is, just a fraud to bring in tyranny. This was a few days ago. Iowa woman, it's here in my state. Iowa woman gets probation for holding party during shutdown. A West Central Iowa woman has been sentenced to 1 year of probation for holding a large party in May during a government order ban on gatherings of 10 or more people. Television station WOI reported Friday that 38-year-old Charity Snavely was also sentenced earlier this month to 10 days in jail, but that sentence was suspended. Snavely pleaded guilty to a public health violation stemming from a May 23rd party at her Rippey home in which police said she served 13 minors alcohol. Well, I don't necessarily agree with serving, minors alcohol, but still. At the time, Governor Kim Reynolds had ordered a ban on such gatherings in an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19. There's another one, too, that I think I bookmarked. Got a bunch of bookmarks I'm scrolling down through, trying to find. Okay. Maybe it's, okay. I want to find out it's a lot of news to report. I just want to get the article that I thought I saved. Wonder if he has it down here on. Let's have it here on. Okay, right here. I just wanted to get to this real quick. Donald Trump partners with Gates-funded Global Vaccine Alliance. In what clearly is revealing just how much President Donald Trump is selling the American people out, while at that same time claiming to be America first and anti-globalist, quote unquote, a recent report shows that he is now partnering with the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, Gavi for short. Given his alleged pulling back from funding the World Health Organization, if he has actually done that, he has failed to deal with Bill Gates for his crimes in pushing vaccines, thus allowing Gates to fund and practically own the World Health Organization. Do you really think President Trump is going to protect you from mandatory vaccines? This article's asking. Oh boy, okay, you fake truthers, how do you like that for your, your anti-globalist, anti-New World Order savior? How do you like those apples? Trump is just another puppet, like the rest of them. I did videos early back with Trump showing how all the Freemasons around him, he was at that Vatican Al Smith dinner calling for a global